Rahmanir Rahim. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Rasul Pak sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the Ahl Bayt. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Today is the 7th of Ramzan, and we'd like to start today's program with Dua Iftitah by Brother Mazhar Bakri. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في هذا العام وفي كل عام واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا الله اللهم صل على محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إني أفتتح الصلاة بحمدك وأنت مسدد للسباب بمنك وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشهد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقيمة وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي وعاجب يا رحيم الدعوة وعقل يا غفور أسرتي فكم يا إلهي من خربة قد فرجتها وهموم قد كشفتها وأسرة قد أقلتها ورحمة قد نشرتها وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها الحمد لله الذي لم يتق صاحبة ولا ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا الله أكبر الله أكبر اللهم صل على الحمد لله بجميع معامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها الحمد لله الذي لا مزاد له في ملكه ولا مناضي له في أمره الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده الباسط بالجود يدا الذي لا تنقذ خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جود وكرامات إنه هو العزيز الوهاب اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير ما حاجة بي إليه عزيمة وغناك عنه قديم وهو عندي كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وصدرك على خبيه عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطاي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستجيبه منك الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وعريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما خسرت فيه إليك فإن أبطأ عني أعتبت بجهلي عليك ولعل الذي أبطأ عني هو خير لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور فلم أرى مولا كريما أصبر على عبد اللئيم منك علي. يا رب إنك تدعوني فأولي أنك وتتحبب إلي وأتبقص إليك وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك كأن لي التطول عليك. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرامك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد حلمي، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرتي، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبي وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام الذي بعود فلا يرى وقارب فشاهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله ولا شبيه يشاكله ولا زهير يؤازده. قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتعوض لعظمته العظمى فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصي ويؤزمني ما علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنيئة قد أعطاني وعزيمة مخوفة قد كفاني وبهجة مونقة قد أراني وأثني عليه حامدا وأشكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يؤتق حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يقيب عامله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويعزى المستكبرين ويؤلج ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. الحمد لله خاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين سريق المستصرقين موزه حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعت السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وأمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيارتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأذكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وتراحمت وتعننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسولك وصفتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووسيء رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخير رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآية الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وصل على سبط الرحمة وإمام الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلاف الهادي المهدي حجاجك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أميرك الخائم المعمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم الهدى إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك استخلفوا في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبل مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدوك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وابتله فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعزه بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلون فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقون بها كرامات الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما قصرنا عنه فبلغناه. اللهم المم به شخصنا واصحب به صدقنا وارتق به فتحنا وكسر به قلتنا وأعزز به زلتنا وأغن به عائلنا واغز به عن مكرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به أسرنا وبيز به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وأنجز به تلبتنا وأنجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا وأعطينا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة أعمالنا وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا وأذهب به غيظ قلوبنا وعدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تعدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكسرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وإن على ذلك بفتح منك تعجل وبزر تكشفه ونصر تعزه وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينخزي عني شهر رمضان أو يدلو الفجر من ليلتي هذه ولك قبلي تبيئة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه. صل على
Not to take too many moments of your time, but I'd like to thank today's sponsors, the family of Khoja and Nusrat Abbas, Dr. Umar Mirza and Sayyid Abbas, Abbas Heather, Dr. Zara Abbas. If we could please recite Surah Fatiha for their marhum and Kul Marhumin, Bil Khusus, Khwaja Ziyarat Hussain, Khwaja Zawar Hussain, Sayyid Bashir ul Hassan, Sayyid Nasir Abbas, Sayyid Dilawar Abbas, Sayyid Habib Zaidi, Kaniz Bandi, Niazun Nisa, Zubayda Khatun, Sagra Begum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Just a short announcement. We do still have a few sponsorship days available. If you'd like, please reach out to Dari Hussain Management. Specifically, you can reach out to Brother Dr. Faraz Rizvi. Without taking any more time, I'd like to call Moulana to the member. Moulana Ali Syed Ali Hassan Abidi. For Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat. Nare Takbir. Nare Risalat. Nare Haydari. For Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف أنبياء المرسلين حبيب إله عالمين أبو القاسم مصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين. And begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. The one who has bestowed upon us countless blessings, and the best of them all, the mercy to mankind, Muhammad al-Mustafa, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, wa ali Muhammad, and his blessed family, the Ahlul Bayt. Let us send our peace and blessings upon Rasulullah, the Ahlul Bayt, and especially the master of our time, Imam Sahib, Asr al-Zaman, Ajalla Ta'ala, Faraj al-Sharif. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, wa ali Muhammad. As we continue on the lecture series of the wise words, which will take us to Jannah, the keys to Jannah, which is the last words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abu Talib alayhi salam, who, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, who left us his will for all of humanity and for anyone that it reaches. We continued the last couple nights upon this will, and today we will continue onwards. And this part is very important, in which Imam Ali Islam says, proclaim the truth. And now what does that mean? Everyone's wondering, what does it mean to proclaim the truth? This takes many steps. To proclaim the truth, first you have to understand it. And before you have to understand it, you have to search for it. Now, how can we do that? And I'll give you an example. And this is from one of the greatest companions of Rasulullah himself and Imam Ali Islam, Salman al-Farsi. Does anyone know the story of Salman al-Farsi? He is one of the greatest companions of Rasulullah and Imam Ali Islam. And it is incumbent upon us to learn the stories of those companions that surrounded Imam Ali alayhi salam, that were with him day and night, and from his beginning of his life to end of his life, and never left him. Because as we know, many companions left the righteous people during their lifetime, but there were some who stayed loyal to the end. And Salman al-Farsi alayhi salam is one of them. And Salman al-Farsi, his story is very inspirational because it teaches us a very important lesson of how sincere we have to be and how dedicated we have to be for searching for the truth. Salman al-Farsi, he used to live in modern day Persia back then. We used to be Persia, today it's Iran. It used to be called Persia back then. He used to live in Persia, in land in Persia, over a city, in which they used to be fire worshippers. His father was in charge of the temple, and he used to make Salman al-Farsi watch the fire. That was his job. But he himself, he always knew that this wasn't the reality, that there's always God out there. This fire cannot be God. He knows there's something greater out there. He had that feeling. And why did he have that feeling? Is because all of us are born with an innate nature within inside of us. It's called our fitra. That fitra will always lead us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we only give it what it needs and guide it. So Salman al-Farsi had that feeling. He knew that this fire that man creates cannot be God. And think about it. If it was God, why would he have to protect the fire? God doesn't need protection, right? So he started thinking, he was curious. Then one day he came across a Christian church, and he inquired about it. Then he learned there was a faith called Christianity. And this faith of Christianity, it's itself, at that time, before Rasulullah, the true message of Nabi Isa alayhi salam was the true message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can say at that time, Islam was the religion of Nabi Isa at that time, right? So that true faith, whoever was continuing upon the true words of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, was following the correct path at that time. And they were believing in one God. So as such, Salman al-Farsi, he starts getting curious about Christianity. He wants to learn more. He makes it his life mission to figure out how he can escape Iran, Isfahan, and go to those churches and learn from the ministers. So what happens is that one day, a caravan's going towards Sham, which is that area of Palestine, today Lebanon, Syria. That was the cradle of Christianity. So Salman had heard that is the cradle of Christianity. He joins that caravan, ends up in the area of Sham, the Levant, which he called today Syria, Palestine, Jordan, and Lebanon. And he's studying amongst the Christians at a church. And then he sees that the priest of the church, he's stealing people's funds. So he's confused. He's like, I came here to find the true religion, but this guy himself is stealing people's funds. So at his funeral, everyone's coming to give their respects to this minister. And Salman's like, why are you giving respects to him? This guy stole all your money the whole time. So now he starts getting, everyone starts getting curious, wondering, is he lying? Is he not lying? He says, yeah, let me show you where the gold is. He takes them and shows them all the money. So Salman realized something. He's like, these people, not everyone represents the faith. Just because someone is bad doesn't mean the faith is bad. Or just because some preacher is bad or doing bad things doesn't mean Islam itself is bad in today's time. Right? Because that person is separate from the religion. He may have his own faults in life. But you cannot base your faith based on the person who's preaching to you or his actions in life, in reality. Your faith has to be stronger than that. Your faith has to be so strong, if all the sheikhs in the world ended up being corrupt, you wouldn't be fazed. Why? Because you're not worshiping because someone told you to worship. You're worshiping because you know the truth is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah Ali Waliyullah. That's why you're worshiping. So in that story, we have many lessons, right? So Salman then, he realizes that this person is not true, but he ends up finding a good teacher, a very good Christian teacher, and he starts learning the faith. Now he learns the faith, but his teacher's about to die. So his teacher, Salman asked him, my teacher, where should I go now? Who's the next best teacher after you? He tells him there's a Christian minister in Mosul, Iraq, their modern day Iraq area. Now look, he went from Persia, modern day Iran, to the area of Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Sham. Now he's going to Iraq. And back then, traveling was not easy. He goes now to Iraq. Same thing, he studies, seeking the truth, and his teacher ends up dying. Now he asks him the same question again, one more time. He sends him to Turkey. He says, I only know one more person. He's in Turkey. Go there. Modern day Turkey area today, Anatolia. He goes there. He learns. And then his teacher dies. His last teacher is dying. Now do you understand? He went from where? From his home in Persia to Sham to Mosul to what is now Turkey. Why? Because he's seeking the truth, searching for it. He knows there's truth out there and he wants to learn it. It is a very powerful lesson for us. And now, his final teacher is about to die. And he asks him the same question he asked all his other teachers, except this time, the teacher says, I have lost faith in all scholars today. There is no more true Christian scholars left in this world. But we have read in our books that there will come a prophet in the lands of Medina, in Arabia. He read that in the Bibles. From the Bibles, he learned that, this Christian scholar. It talks about a prophet who will come from that land. So Salman says, okay, no matter what I have to do now, I have to get to Arabia, that area of Medina and Mecca, no matter what happens in my life. So what happens, he sees a caravan passing by. It's a tribe from Arabia. So he says, okay, fine. Are you going to Arabia? I'll come with you. He goes in that tribe, with that tribe, and guess what happens? The tribe overpowers him, takes control of him, and makes him their slave. Now Salman, a free man who used to live a very good life in Persia, traveled to 4 different countries, 2 continents, and is now a slave. He becomes a slave. And now that tribe sells him to a Jewish man. Now, do you see what the struggles he's going through? And keep paying attention to what happens next. He ends up now in a Jewish man's farm as a slave working there. Near Arabia, but he's just not there yet, near Medina. He's not in Medina yet. One day, this Jewish man's cousin comes and sees, oh, that's some slave you have is a very hardworking slave. Let me take him from you. And he hears that this person, the Jewish man's cousin, lives close to Medina. So Salman is happy, excited. And the Jewish man's cousin is saying, we have heard about a man who has come, who is saying he's a prophet. Now Salman is finally having a good time. He's like, all this time I've become a slave now, but I finally hear about this prophet. Let's go. He's like, oh, take me as a slave. This time he's happy to be a slave. He says, happily take me away to where you are. They take Salman away. Now he's working with this other person. And he gets the message that the prophet has arrived and he's calling people towards Islam. And he's in a nearby land, a nearby city. Salman escapes that night. He runs away and he looks for the prophet. And he sees the prophet. Now the Christian man, his first teacher that was in Turkey, his last teacher, told him 3 signs. He says there will be 3 signs. When you see them, you'll know he's the prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first sign is that he does not accept any charity. Number 2, he has a sign on his back. It's Khatam an-Nubuwah. And every prophet had this. It's a seal of prophethood. Every prophet had this on their back. And number 3, he won't accept charity, but if you give him as a gift, he'll accept the gift, but he will never take it as charity. Right? So Salman He sees the Prophet now. Or what people are saying is the Prophet at that time, right? So he doesn't know yet. He's still confused. So Salman starts following around. He gives him dates as charity. He's like, here is charity for you. He sees the Prophet takes all the dates and then gives them to all his companions, but he does not take one date for himself because he can't accept charity. Second, he comes back again a second time, and now he said, this is a gift for you. He sees the Prophet give them out, but he also takes some for himself because it's not charity. And the last thing, now Salman is confused. I've seen the first two signs, but how do I see his shoulder and what's in his back? So Salman starts following the Prophet around. Every chance he gets, he's following the Prophet around. Till one day he sees the Prophet walking in a funeral. And you know, in the funeral, they wear the different kind of outfits, where sometimes when you're carrying the coffin and the coffin, your shirt might slip a little bit from your shoulder. So Salman, he's walking behind the Prophet, getting closer and closer, trying to see. There's a sign there. And the Prophet realizes this, and he slowly lowers his shirt a little bit to show him the sign. Salman then accepts and becomes, gives the shahada and says, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. Now, Salman, as you know, he is not known as Salman al-Farsi. He's known as who? Salman al-Muhammadi. The Prophet made him one of his own. Why? Think about this. What does it take to become one with the Prophet's family? This is the struggle that he went through. He didn't give up. The thirst of knowledge, he chased it no matter what happens. He searched for the truth. He made sure no matter what happens, I find it. And no matter what struggle, he ended up from a free man living a good life with his father in a good position, taking care of his temple, to a slave. And the second time, he was happy to be a slave and to be sold, just so he can reach the truth. And that's why it's very important for us to understand this. We must all seek the truth. We must learn it. Remember, it says, do not inherit your religion. Learn it. Study it. And we must all seek it, learn it, and study it as best as we can. Not everyone has to become a scholar, but everyone has to study Islam. It is extremely important for everyone to do so. And second, once you learn the truth, you must proclaim it. Teach it to others. Stay steadfast upon it. No matter what happens in your life, stay steadfast on the truth. As we know, another companion of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Maytam al-Tammar. What happened with Maytam? And the reason I'm mentioning the companions is so we understand how we can implement his will. Because no one did it best than the companions of Imam Ali alayhi salam. I mentioned Salman al-Farsi. He searched for the truth, understood it no matter what happens. Now you see how to defend the truth and stay steadfast on it no matter what. Salman al-Farsi, Maytam al-Tammar, or in Urdu and Farsi you say Maysam, he used to be a date seller. Imam Ali told him one day that, oh Maytam, you're going to be martyred one day from that tree over there. Hang from that tree. And Salman says, and he says, then he questions Imam Ali Islam, how would you feel at that time? He says, if I was to be martyred 1,000 times, I would never give up on your faith and never give up my love for you, Ya Ali. And as such, Maytam al-Tammar, what he used to do, and this is the best part of this history that we have. Salman used to go to that tree every single day. History tells us he used to talk to the tree. He says, Allah nurtured you for me and me for you. He used to plant, give it water. He used to pray next to that tree all day. Make sure it's taken care of. Now I ask you, if someone told you you're going to be martyred on that tree over there, what would you do? You'd make sure no seed ever seen that area ever again. You would take down that tree, wouldn't you? Bulldozer it down, right away, knock it down, make sure nothing's ever seen ever there again. But Salman, he would go to that tree, talk to it, pray there. he stays steadfast no matter to the end of his life. You know, Imam Ali alayhi salam was martyred, Imam Hassan alayhi salam was martyred, and Imam Hussain alayhi salam came towards the end of Maitam al-Tamar's life was when Imam Hussain alayhi salam was leaving Medina and heading out for his journey. So at that time, Maitam was in Kufa. So Ubaydullah bin Ziyad, he calls upon Maitam. And some narration says Maitam went to him for a dispute to defend people who were being abused by his henchmen. Either way, he ended up in the courts of Ibn Ziyad. And then Ibn Ziyad's companion says, this is the one, the liar who follows the liar. He's talking about Maitam al-Tamar, he's the liar who follows the liar, Imam Ali alayhi salam. So Maitam says, no, I am the truthful who follows the truthful. And Ibn Ziyad, and he gets angry. So what does he do? He says, I order him to be killed. Hang him, crucify him on a tree, and then cut off his hand, cut off his legs. And Maitam says, my master, the truthful, told me you're going to do this. And he also told me you're going to cut off my tongue. He says, really? Fine. Cut off his hand, cut off his leg, but do not cut off his tongue. So what happens next? Maitam's hand is cut off, his leg is cut off. He's put on a tree. That same tree. He made sure that tree stayed well until that day. But he's hung from that tree. But now what happens? He's hanging out bleeding. Can you imagine? Your hands cut, your legs are cut, and you're hanging from a tree being crucified. And crucified means the way that you get glued to a tree with nails. And he's hanging there bleeding. And what does he do? What would you do in that moment? Would you even think about anything else except your pain? What would you do? Can you imagine? People start crying, they get a splinter in their hand. Imagine being nailed to a tree. But what does he do? He uses that tree and turns it into a mimbar. And he says, "O people of Kufa, come and listen to what Ali has taught me. Listen to what Rasulullah has said about Ali. Listen to the knowledge of Ali." And he's turned everyone against Ibn Ziyad. People are coming in the masses because Imam Ali and his qualities are such that anyone, even the people with the hardest hearts, hears them, they turn soft. Because he was such a character and such an individual. He started praising him, singing his qualities. And people start gathering towards him. And Ibn Ziyad starts getting worried. He's like, what's happening? People are turning away from me. If they start listening to Ali's qualities, they're going to come against me. Because what was done at that time, people were doing what? They wanted to make sure everyone's mind was erased from the qualities of Muhammad alayhi salam. People didn't know who he was. Some people used to question if he even prayed. But they knew Maitam was a companion of the Prophet. And they believed in Maitam at that time in Kufa. Because they were brainwashing people. How did they turn everyone against the Prophet's family? They say Ali didn't pray, Ali didn't do this, he wasn't even a Muslim. They made so many lies. But Maitam, he started telling the truth, preaching the truth while he's dying, hanging out bleeding. But he's proclaiming the truth, no matter what's happening in his life. And guess what happens? He had no choice but to cut off his tongue. He did not say, did I not tell you that my Lord was the one I followed, Imam Ali alayhi salam, my Imam was the truthful. And you said he was a liar. Didn't you come cut off my tongue now? That was the last thing he said. Then he said, Allahu Akbar, before he died. Now, if we want to proclaim the truth, learn from Maitam al-Tamar alayhi salam. Stay steadfast on the path of Amir al-Mu'mineen. That is the most important task that we have to uphold every single day. And in order to do that, you have to learn the truth. So first, search for it, understand it, learn it, act upon it. Because you can't proclaim it to others if you're not acting upon the truth itself. Remember that. That's very important. And then teach it to others. As the Imams have said, bring people to us through our words. For if people heard our words, they would come running towards us. That's our duty in this life today. By just sharing the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, see how the world runs towards them. Because they'll see the truth that there is no one other than the Ahlul Bayt who uphold justice, equality, mercy, and fairness on this earth after Rasulullah. And the only ones who teach us this in their teachings. And as such, let us always stay steadfast on the path of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And with that, let us raise our hands in dua. May Allah grant us His mercy and forgiveness in the holy month of Ramadan. May Allah make us the best of companions who stay steadfast in the path of Amir al-Mu'mineen. May Allah make us amongst the best companions and the Imam of our time, Sahaba Asr wa Zaman, Sharif. May Allah answer the calls of all those who are oppressed around the world, especially in Gaza and all the Muslim nations around the world. And may Allah heal all those who are sick and needy. And may Allah give us all the forgiveness and mercy this month, holy month of Ramadan. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
متوجه زیارت. السلام علیکم یا ابا عبداللہ، السلام علیکم یا ابن رسول